vlog, but I ordered a stand just for you guys. So you see, your girl has some consistency. Okay, so let's get into the story because I know you guys really clicked down because I don't want nosy. I don't want enough. So we can talk the story. Hold on, y'all. Let's get into this hair, right? Like, is this not giving? Is it not giving? Thank you, Samantha. Big up you. Okay, I love that for us. Love this. Love it. But yes, okay, so let's get into the story, y'all. Let's get into the story. Okay, hold on. I want to like preface this by saying it has been officially 1 year since I found out, so we love that. So you know, we're doing things. We love that for us. And I want to thank you. Okay, so to my doctor, because my doctor watches this my vlog, and my nurse, Miss Carol. Like, I love you, Miss Carol. I just want to tell you, like, girl, she was like one of my biggest like supporters, and I love her. She was like, she's my Bahamian mommy, so I love her. Yeah, so I just want to like, we're clapping it up that we are getting this video 1 year later, and you guys can literally see the difference. So I'm gonna actually be inserting some pictures, I guess, like over here, because you know I'm a YouTuber now, so you guys will get to see them as the story goes on, right? Okay, ready? Let's go. Let's do this. Okay, so basically, so I found out in December. So in January, in June of 2020, I was getting a lot of the symptoms, right? Like, chest pains was like one of the like prevalent symptoms. Like, I was like, oh my god, like I felt like my chest was on fire. It was like this tightening pain and then this release. I think it's angina, that's what you would call it. So felt those pains, but they weren't consistent enough for me to like be like, oh my goodness, you know, like I need to go to the doctor. Red flag, by the way, red flag. So left them alone, right? So chest pain, was losing weight. Good gal did drop off little poems and sing, you know. But it wasn't like, again, a major concern. Like, I'm just not putting all of the symptoms together, right? So fast forward, I think in now December, I was talking to my homeboy on FaceTime, and he was like, Mama, like, there's like a lump on your chest. And I was all like, no, that's just my collarbone, you know, because of, you know what I mean? I was like, just, you know, the weight. He's like, no girl, there's a lump on your chest. There's a lump on your chest. And when I actually turned, like, you could see that it was like protruding a little bit. So I was like, oh, okay, that's a little serious. I was like, okay, now it's like becoming like an area of concern. Got to urgent care, and the woman was like, yeah, no, she's like, I don't even see a lump. She's like, I mean, I can like arrange like a PET scan for you, but I don't really see a lump there. Pause. Okay, like you. Okay, so left urgent care, and then go on another trip now, and I feel very like pinned to the bed, like to the point where I called my sister and I was like, hey, you know, this is what's happening, and I feel like I have to go to the hospital room. And you know, they're doing like the EKG, they run the CAT scan and doing like a workup, just kind of asking like the symptoms, and then they decided like, okay, let's do the CAT scan. 20 minutes has gone by, 30 minutes has gone by, and nobody came by the door. So I'm looking at my sister, and my sister's looking at me, and we're like, where is everyone? Like, all of a sudden, like, all of this movement, like, all of this traffic just like simply stopped. So now I'm like getting irritated because I have another trip the next day, and this is like, I want to say maybe like 9 o'clock at night, and my trip the next day was maybe like 5 o'clock in the morning. So I was like, baby, mama needs her sleep, you know what I mean? So I talked to one of the nurses. The male nurse comes in and he's like, hey, I was like, what's going on? He comes in and I'm like, yeah, like what's going on? He gave me some morphine. He was like, oh, they like no one has come in to talk to you yet. And I'm like, no, sir, nobody hasn't come. You know, like what's going on? Like I have to go to, get to work in the morning. He steps out, comes back, and he's like, okay, like there is like this large mass on your sternum. We're trying to find you a hospital bed. We're gonna admit you. Next day, they're giving me the biopsy. Okay, so boom, right there, biopsy. Afternoon, one of my doctors comes back. He's like, yes. He's like, you know, so it's the big C. It is cancer. Just like this guy that cannot make it. He's like, it is cancer, and you're gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay. He's like, you know, your oncologist is about to come up. And I remember like at that moment, I think I just drew a blank. Like it was just not dawning on me of what was going on, you know? Like as soon as he said it, I was like, cancer's in the movie cancer? Like cancer? Like after he said, you have cancer, I literally just zoned out. And I was like, what? And then my body, like I just started to cry because I'm like, what else am I supposed to do? So my oncologist comes in and Dr. Sahani has this very, at that moment, he was very confident, but he was very stoic. And he just kind of walked me through the process. He was like, this is what you have. It's non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. We're gonna do about 6 rounds of chemo, 4 to 6, depending on what stage it is. Right now, it looks like it's stage 2 just because it's localized in your chest. He's like, we'll have to take a biopsy of the bone marrow to see if it spread. And you know, I was like, okay, like all of this information is coming at you, and I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, I'm like, I was like, girl, you really want attention. Like of all of the things to go and do, you go get yourself cancer, you know? So I'm like, I was stunned. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I was very stunned. And I like remember crying, and then like I looked at my sister and I, we like looked at each other and we were crying, and I was like, okay, and that's it. And I was like, that's it. That is it. You know, we do that and then we're done with that. Because we're gonna make it through. And I think it was when I spoke to my oncologist, the kind of confidence that he exuded made me now feel confident in him, made me even feel confident in myself of we're gonna knock it out. He's all like, listen, you were young. He's like, you're not like Usain Bolt, but you're young. You know, your body will be able to react much better to the chemo than a lot of other people. So that kind of like, okay, I'm like, you know, like, will I be feeling like aches and pains? He's like, you know, you usually get like maybe a little bit of like muscle aches, but it's not that bad. Like it will not be that bad. And you know, at this point we were a little bit confused because I'm like, again, when you're hearing the word cancer, your mind immediately goes into this place of like being very weak and being very frail and very fragile and just not able to do for yourself. Like these are like the visuals that you kind of have that's associated with the word. But he was very much like, no, like that's not gonna be for you. You will lose your hair. It's like that will happen. You will lose your hair within about 3 weeks. So brace yourself for that, which I actually like appreciated, because again, my Virgo essence is just, walk me through what's going to happen so that there is no surprise. I was like, you know, I'm gonna give my confidence in you, and if you can put your confidence in me to tell me that, you know, like it's gonna work, it's gonna work. You know, he's like, we're going in very, very quickly and very strong, very aggressive with it, because with lymphoma, they hit your lymph nodes, and as quickly as they spread, they shrink very quickly. So he was like, I need to treat this now. He said, by the next day, I was like, yeah, all right, good gal, strong. Mentally, I was like, all right, yes. We in there, you know. I was all like, go there, y'all go get to the other side. People, he said they did the chemo port and the bone marrow the same day. A piece of wailing. Wailing, like fighting for my life on the table. Like you would have think like someone was literally murdering me, because I think in that moment it was like this is real. Like it's not a joke. Like this is actually not, like when they start, you know, like it's like, you know, being told you have cancer, now you're getting prepped with the chemo. Like it just made, I think that was that moment where it was like, okay, like this is really it. Like it's still kind of surreal up until that moment when they started putting it in. I was like, oh my goodness, like this is my life. Like now you are you're like, your life will never be the same after this. Like it will never be no matter how much you try to normalize it, no matter how much you try to, you know, repress it, it's never gonna be the same. It's never gonna be the same. And just even to see them go in and put it, and after it was done, I could like, I would feel it, you know. And I'm like, your body will never be the same, your mind will never be the same. Like this just made it real. So after that, you know, I think maybe a couple days after that, we started the first round of chemo. The nurses at my hospital were great. And at this time, you know, I told everyone, because, you know, life is very real, right? And that's even the reason why I'm sharing my story, is because life is very real. And if you're gonna take the good, if I can, with such confidence, you know, share the good in my life, I should have that same confidence to share the parts that are just not the best. It's real life, you know. For me, I'm like, you know, my story is going to be different than a lot of other people's story, but it's just, you have to take it one day at a time. Like that's the only thing that I can tell you. Like the emotions, they will come, they will go. There were days when I would sing and dance, and then there were nights when I would cry, and there would be another day when I'm like, you know, I'm gonna take on this world, I'm gonna take this on, I'm gonna do this with grace, poise, and integrity. And then, you know, in the night it's cowballing again, you know. Like there's no one size fits all when you're hearing this type of devastating news. There's not a one size pick me up. There's not going to be, you know, as much as the support from friends and family, they were there, you're the one that's going through it. You know, at the end of the day, you're the one that's going through it. You know, everyone could, you know, they can pour into you, but as much as everyone was pouring into me, I had to make sure I was pouring into myself. You know, I knew my capabilities, I knew my strength, I knew what I wanted, the ending process and the results that I wanted at the end of this. And so then I told myself, like, you're gonna get through this. And everything else after that, it was literally mind over matter. I told my mind that I could do it, and then my body just, in terms of symptoms, 1 week, literally like clockwork, when I would do the treatments, my body literally, as my doctor would say, it would get a little tense. It would get very like tender, very sore, as if you were working out. And then literally on day 7, every treatment, because I started to log them, you know, and just start to pick up the symptoms, I was good. Closer to, I want to say about rounds 4, 5, and 6, the nausea increased, but it wasn't, I think maybe by round 6 is the first time that I actually threw up, but the nausea around 4 and 5 was pretty bad. It was just more like I feel like you want to throw up, but nothing's coming up. Part of my treatments were steroids as well, hence, you know, the winter weight, you know. So that kind of also helped combat all of the other symptoms that I was gonna experience. My doctor was very, I appreciate him so much, I really do, because I felt like he went to bat for me, guys. He went to bat for me. Were great. The support that was great when I was there, you know, his team, like, it just, honestly, like I said, like a good doctor, good nurses, good support all around is what brought me through, you know, like it really is. And I would not have had it any other way, you know. when you experience something that's difficult, when you experience hardships, you know, your faith will be tested. It will be tested. But I think for me, it was just kind of knowing it was a test, but already preparing for like the testimony, if that makes sense. You know, it was, what is this going to teach me? You know, what is this meant for me to listen and learn at this juncture in my life? And the moment that I started to look at it like that and stop looking at it like it was just a disease ready to just absorb my life and all of my energy, I think it made it so much easier for me to just get through it. Just get through it. It was just, you know, what am I being taught? You know, is it strength? Is it resilience? Is it discipline? Is it persistence? Everyone's story isn't like mine. And I just wanted there to be a different type of story, you know, a different type of association with it. But you'll be fine. So to anyone else that, you know, you have loved ones that are going through it, you know, just be there for them. And they will have their days when they're up. They will have their days when they're down. This is one of those like internal battles that unfortunately, you know, presents itself, you know, externally. But you just have to tell yourself that you want to live. And you will. So that's my story.